Soul in Arabic means peace.
Oh.
And if you break down everything, I mean, if you just kind of, like dissect everything, it is stress and anxiety on one side and peace and happiness on one side. I mean, really, if you think about it, all that you are always looking for is peace or happiness. I don't think you can give any third adjective to it. And if you are looking for what you are looking to avoid, it is stress, it is anxiety. I mean, that's the bottom line to how we all are. That's actually a wonderful way for me to initiate this discussion today. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Rashi, for this wonderful introduction. I have with me here Dr. Tarun Sehgal. Why I talk about mental health, he's actually the one who is a mental health practitioner. He's been in public health so as a psychiatrist, he's been in public health in UK for almost a decade, and then he moved to Australia, and now he's been in public health in Australia for almost a decade. He is one of the co-founders with me. Dr. Tarun, I call him Tarun. He and I go way back when we didn't even know how to spell doctor. We were classmates in first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. So we have known each other for as long as probably half of you were not even there. Which is almost 40 odd years. Anyway.
And Blossom has just stepped out, and of course, I think there's no introduction required, but still.
Absolutely.
Let us come there.
So, you
No, you can. Sangeeta, the Diva is here, and of course, she has a big contribution toward the wellness industry. She's the first person to find Aroma magic, and I think the government really needs to acknowledge that. I don't want to say that. That's the thing, and that otherwise you know your boss more than me.
And the other thing I'd like to say is,
and Kapil, you also know about
absolutely.
And the other thing I'd like to say is that aromatherapy is very much associated with wellness, with happiness, with peace, and like you can really use a lot of oils. Like you can have a shower with neroli, and that is definitely going to make you feel good and happy for the day. You can use, just say you're not feeling too good, you can use eucalyptus in the thing. You can use orange to feel also, that is a very happiness kind of oil. And while, of course, our mind is there also programmed, but this helps as a tool to program the mind, which is fantastic. I really think aromatherapy is really a wellness thing. Okay, yeah. So now on.
No, it is well proven.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things about mindfulness that when you have these kind of sort of aromas around, you can tend to forget about the other things and you immerse yourself in these aromas the time you're going through the therapy, and that is one way of being mindful of your own self, and you forget about all the other stressful thoughts and those kind of things. So that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So, for today, we kept the topic of today's conversation as restoring sanity amongst pace and craze. And we specifically kept this topic looking at the lives that people that work in beauty industry, that work in fashion industry, that are associated in this world have. There is a lot of pace, there is a lot of craze. And amongst it all, a lot of times, sanity gets lost. And when we started off Soul Wellness, one of the key reasons for us to begin a venture like Soul Wellness was that we were looking all around. While it's interestingly started in the middle of the pandemic, but it's not a COVID therapy. It's not something which has come out as a result of pandemic. Pandemic has probably made things worse, but this is something that we were always going through. Now we have a stronger realization of it. Everybody all around. I don't care if you are the richest person in the world or the poorest person. If you are the most fulfilled person in the world or the least fulfilled person. What age bracket you are in, what demographic you are in, what country you are in, nothing matters. Everybody in their own personalized ways in their life have stress. Everybody in their own personalized ways in their life have pressure. Okay? I'm sure there will be a different pressure that she would have as the owner, as the founder, as an accomplished public personality. And there is a different pressure that somebody who is a complete unknown would have. But both of them would have two things in common. One is stress, one is pressure. And we started looking at it and we said, if we think about how to give people something to work with, we realized that it cannot be a solution. There is no right answer. Everybody has their own unique way of making their mind work. For somebody, it could be a nice aroma, bath. For somebody else, it might even be, and I had this aunt once, and she used to go to satsang and all very frequently, and she would talk to me about how I should go there, and I would always jokingly, of course, tell her, you get your solace by sitting half an hour over there. I get my solace by holding a nice glass of scotch in my hand for half an hour. We both have our own ways of working. And it's a very personalized. Mental health is not something which has a solution for someone. So we said, how about we create a capability where we enable a set of tools and solutions. Let us look at the spectrum of things to the extent that we can. Let us look at the spectrum of things that we can enable, that we can provide to people. And now let's start working with people in identifying, in helping them create their own unique roadmap, in helping them create their own unique way of seeking solace, seeking peace, seeking happiness. And I keep coming back to these two words. Peace on one side, happiness on the other side. So stability, strength on one side, and the charm of movement in the form of happiness on the other side. With that, let me actually turn this over to Dr. Tarun first, and you can go from there.
Sure. Thanks. And first of all, I will start with thanking you all for taking your time, and I know you all are quite busy and being here with us. And it's very important. I think mental health is one thing. What we are trying as a group to do is increasing awareness around mental health and helping people around and seeking for support for people, whatever way and form they want. So one thing is stress. What we all know about stress is it's very much individual, and all of us react in different way to different situations. And we all tend to have our own personalities, the way we absorb or we perceive difficulties around us, and that's what get converted in some way or form or reciprocated to the level of stress we tend to have. And what we are trying to do is that we all can sort of identify what helps for us, and the journey for any kind of help for mental health is very much as an individual journey as well. And the way one goes through is they get to understand about their own self as well. So what we are trying to do is giving tools, whatever the possible ways one can seek help for them. We're trying to accommodate everything through this app. And it was very much like, as an initiative, it got started that we need to do something for the society to give back, something that that can bring some level of understanding, awareness, and that's my background, being 20 years working in mental health. And my idea was that at least I have a duty to pay back something to the society to start with. And one way is that we know that stigma is quite a lot. Mental health we don't want to talk about. Still, there are a lot of ways people doesn't want to share, or they want to sort of, and a lot of the time they don't even know they're going through a mental health problem, and they still be going through the symptoms of it. And the reason is there's lack of awareness around that. So we thought we have to do things. We can bring up awareness. We can sort of do things to prevent worsening of mental health for people. And even if it gets worse, we start providing the appropriate tools at the early stage and provide that early intervention to get it more clear shape or sort of further worsening of the mental health symptoms for them. So that's the whole concept behind it that we can do. But the thing is that what kind of things we can do to help ourselves. And one thing I would like to make sure that please feel free, ask questions. We are in a small group session. We are not doing any kind of lecture here. So whatever questions come to you, please feel free to raise your hand and do interrupt both of us as we go along. So what I have sort of tried to incorporate along with Kapil, there's certain things within the app, and these are the things, not necessarily one has to use the app to do it, but these are the things which are really helpful for anyone's mental health and bringing that peace to themselves. And one of the things is what we call journaling. It's very much like a system or reflective practice. That sometimes we don't give much of attention to our own self when we go through certain kind of emotions, different phases in our life. You may have different set of emotions. You may be feeling extremely happy on one day, or maybe quite tearful and sad, or anxious, or depressed, or angry in certain situations, or panicky. But sometimes we don't tend to reflect on those, or try to spend time for our own self, why this is happening to me in this particular moment in time. And this is what we are trying to give that opportunity through the journaling. One can have a very much reflective notes for their own self. They can have a record of their daily mood, what we call a mood diary. They can go back to that mood diary and see over a period of time how they're tracking. They can link to a certain specific date and keep notes of that. And that is all one can choose to keep it very much personal to them. They can share to a specific person if they want to share those. And say if someone is going through a therapy with a counselor or with a psychologist or with their psychiatrist, and they would like to share some specific moment with them. So we have given that option that you can pick and choose and you can share those to that particular person. But that is one specific feature that can give you a track of how you are progressing over a period of time. And that is something one can go back and reflect. The other part of the journaling is very much, if you're not sure about something, you can go ahead, you can ask freely about those questions, what that is about. And that can be anything. And sometimes what we tend to have is we are not sure whether this is the right question, this is the wrong question, should I ask this or not? And is it really I want to disclose my identity or not? And that's one thing we do realize very much specific to any individual with their mental health. And we have given that option. You can keep yourself anonymous when you're asking questions, or even if you're giving any advice. So there are people who might be expert in certain things, who might be there and want to help other people, and we're giving that option. If you want to comment, the feature what we are trying to put it in there is around our specific groups we have created. And we know that it's again, everyone's mental health, everyone's difficulties are different. But through the experience or the knowledge of evidence, we know that there's a certain set of groups and problems which do exist among most of the mental health problems when someone goes through. And that's why we're giving that option as well, so that people can ask very specific questions to those things. And that's another way of doing it. So, any questions so far? Anyone wants to share, ask anything? Yeah, please.
Do you deal with psychotic disorders, or is it just normal counseling and coaching? Like, how do you get to know a person, probably who's interacting with you on an app? So, how do you diagnose? And how do you come to this conclusion that he's suffering from a psychotic disorder, or it is a disorder which is because of the environment or his upbringing?
So this is a very specific about the diagnosis of someone's illness. So what we are offering is that anyone, they can come to the app, they can ask or raise their queries, what they have. And we'll try to help and link them with the right person. And we have got now 200 plus providers, a mix of psychiatrists, counselors, therapists. And depending on if they're asking anything specific, we can link them up with the right, and we can sort of put them in the right direction in the right time. One of the features we are putting on our app is something called Now, which is very much like SOS service. We're not a suicide prevention, because that is something well beyond what we can scope for. But if someone need to have a very much instant help and support, that Now button is there. One can click on, they can put the question there, and our team, sort of professionals, they will get in touch and they will give the right advice and they will direct them in the right direction at the early on. Of course, as a psychiatrist, I do see a lot of people with psychotic disorders, and that's the journey as a psychiatrist I have been through. And it doesn't take too long to diagnose once you have the assessment done. But it's all about, the aim is to have that platform to make it easy. Because in my experience, especially around the time of pandemic, it was very, very difficult for a lot of people, and they were very much lost where to go, where to seek help, whom to ask for help. Is it really something happening or not? Or whatever symptoms they are developing, is it really something to do with mental health? They had no idea. And there was nothing like that existed at that time. And that's where the whole idea is someone can raise at very much at their fingertips at any time, free of cost to them, and that's how it is to at least to start their journey with. Of course, there will be fees to a provider, but otherwise it's a very much as a query, as a support network, and a lot of resources are already there on which we want to keep it.
So let me also mention a couple of other attributes in this. See, at one level, as Dr. Tarun said, there is a journaling feature and a support group feature. Any individual who is looking at communicating, okay, either communicating meaning expressing to themselves, or communicating meaning expressing in association with other people, they can do. But then there is an area where they can, through their issues or through the expertise of the professional, there is a, call it, for lack of a better term, call it find a doctor phenomena. Okay, so you can go there, you can select an issue if you are aware of your issue, or select the expertise of the professional if that's how you are looking at, and then book an appointment with them. And our app will be able, you will be able to schedule a booking with that professional, you will be able to get a session done with that professional, and of course the professional will then take you through an entire assessment and then diagnostics, and then of course the treatment as it may be required.
This is more of a gateway.
It is more of a gateway with just one key nuance. See, it's mental health. So me providing somebody find a doctor is like saying I want to create another practice. It doesn't necessarily work as well. And that's not how people perceive their mental wellness. If you are talking about people in extreme situations, then you are probably right. They need to find a doctor, probably, just use that. But for all of us here, nobody in this room seems like they have a mental breakdown right now. But does that mean that you don't have mental stress right now? Does that mean you don't have mental pressure right now? That's where we are operating. So we are saying, while it will be great if I can help people with disorders, if I can help people with clinical depressions to also feel better, but I'm saying I'm primarily there to have all of you feel better. And that is why I'm not doing my workshops in institutes or in places or in hospitals where people with mental disorders would go, people with extreme symptoms would go. I'm doing my workshop standing here because you guys are the audience that, in my view, needs a lot of that support. For others, for people that have depression, for people who have suicidal tendencies, for people who have mental disorders, there is support structure that the government puts together. I mean, there will be a suicide prevention helpline, there will be money that would be put in healthcare, there would be other support structure that would be created. But it is really people like us. If we can start feeling better, if we can start feeling, better not just for ourselves, but also the community and the surroundings and the environment around us, I think it would go a long way in improving how we all live and what we all do.
It's very important as a healthy society.
Exactly. Our individual happiness, our community productivity, our working with society as a whole, it all improves from there. And that is, I think, one of the things that I want to understand. If a few of you can actually, raise your hand or just stand up or just keep sitting and share. What sort of issues? And it doesn't have to be, as I said, I'm not looking for somebody going through a mental health disorder. Okay? I'm looking for people having certain pressures, certain stresses, certain areas of their life where they think I'm either not able to talk it out, or even if I talk it out, I'm not able to get support. Or even if somebody provides support, they usually end up judging me and they usually end up trivializing me. So if a couple of people can kind of share from their experiences like that, I think it would be really nice and we will be able to make a lot more progress and kind of talk about it.
I think when you said the last line, judging, whenever we like to share anything, we feel that I think the other person is judging us and now he will underestimate us. So how should we solve that? Nick, sorry, I don't know. I just put my thing. I agree what he said. The last line. This I have faced in many common people.
No, and you're quite right actually, and this is one part of the training we start to have from day one, that the conversation whenever you have with any of your patients or consumers or anyone, it has to be non-judgmental. That you accept and you try to understand from their perspective, and what we call, we need to learn to empathize. It's an easy word to be said than actually practice, and that's what it is about. When someone is coming with some kind of problem and trying to share that, to be very non-judgmental in your way of communicating with them and trying to understand from their perspective or putting yourself in their own shoes and see from there that how would I feel if I am in that situation, and that's where the real communication and connection builds up and start. So that is one way to handle that situation. And,
I speak from my experience in Solh. I've done 2 tickets into this recruitment and selection. For me, and my personal point of view, these people or you people may not agree with this. But my observation and my experience is that in a country like India, this if it's a country like Australia or Europe or America, it's considered to be a taboo to discuss mental issues. Whereas in Europe and America, it is not so.
Reasonably
You know,
less,
they
yeah.
all have, there they all have a counselor.
Yes.
Have you noticed? They all
While
have a
you,
counselor.
while you say that, there are enough and more studies that would actually tell you that even in US, more normalized for somebody to go through a therapy or go through have a counselor or go through mental health support. They call it the concept of when the pain breaks through the stigma. And that time period, interestingly, in US is 11 years. So somebody would go through a pain and a trauma, and by the time they actually get to being comfortable to talk about it and share it, is 11 years. It's incredible. So you are right, and in India, it's a far bigger problem. So one of the things that we are trying to do is to ensure that all of you have a committed, judgment-free space where you can talk. And we do this by 3 key phenomena. Number 1, we do this by incorporating a concept on our application which is called as anonymity. Okay. You will go there, you will create your profile. As you know, I'll go in and I will create my profile as Kapil. But when I'm sharing something, I have the option, do I want to share it as Kapil? Or do I want to share it anonymously? And I can choose over there and decide which of the two do I want to work with. And you know, a lot of times there could be things that you want to share personally, and there may be things that you don't want to, that you want to share anonymously. And it's something that we have seen is helping people in being able to express. Second thing that we are doing is we are providing people a capability to keep a my diary. Okay? And my diary by itself essentially means when you are, expressing yourself, you can keep it in store for yourself. And maybe you will write it over 1 day, 2 day, 3 day period, or write it over within 1 day, you may write it 4 times, and you are comfortable. You may choose to share it, or you may choose to just keep it in your my diary as an expression of what you were feeling, what you were going through by yourself. Okay? And it's an extremely powerful tool to sometimes just be able to put words to it. Not to be able to put words to it and share with somebody, but just to be able to put words to it. Okay? The third thing that we do is, the concept, because we are a mental wellness platform, okay, the concept is that everybody has committed conversations. So, when you go to a platform like a Facebook or a platform like an Instagram, you all get lost in, clothes that people show which they normally don't wear, food that people show that they normally don't eat, places that people show that they normally don't go to, life that people show that they normally don't live. Because it's a committed mental health space, it provides ability and it actually enables an environment where everybody over there talks within that committed space. So the conversations are expected to be a lot more meaningful, they are expected to be a lot more non-judgmental, and they are expected to be a lot more problem solution. And that is really, and to that level, one of the concepts that we have created in the application is we say everybody, all of us, and everybody around is a seeker of mental health. At the same time, depending on everybody across, is a provider of mental wellness. At some point of time, you would be a seeker because there is a specific problem, because there is a challenge, because something you are dealing with. And at some other time, you would be able to empower somebody with your experience or empower somebody with what you may have gone through. It doesn't necessarily need to be a story of success. Okay? For somebody else to know that this person also went through the same kind of distress or the same kind of situation or the same kind of environment that I'm going through, in itself sometimes becomes empowering. So, in that sense, that's what we are trying to enable, to provide people with that. That's really a long answer to the question you were asking. So, we are enabling an environment where people can be comfortable, where people can share what's going on with them in their lives, and where people can do this problem solution in terms of their mental health issues. And no, I do understand when we ask people to share their personal mental health experiences, what we have seen is, I would go to a school and there will be 15 people that will raise their hand, I want to share, I want to talk, I want to talk. Because they have challenges, and it's an accepted phenomena that till the time you get to teenage days, you don't start associating. So your issues, your challenges, your mental health is purely your own. So you don't mind sharing it. It's when you start growing older is when you start facing. I'm sure everybody here who has a problem or a challenge or wants to talk is thinking, 20 people that I have to see tomorrow or today in an hour. What would they think? How would they perceive me? What would they, how would they look at me tomorrow? And that is completely understandable. And we live in a world where that's the gross reality of who we are. We have this ability to be able to hear about people and then form opinions in our head. Our education system is associative. Hear something, look at something, and create associations with respect to that. Exactly. And for true mental wellness, probably need to be non-judgmental. So for me, non-judgmental is really being non-associative. Don't look at other associations. Just hear, just see what's this, and deal it for what it is right now. So, does anybody feel more comfortable with speaking, sharing something that they may not be going through themselves, but then they know some other friend of theirs, maybe not even in this room, has a challenge or is kind of going through, or is something that you think they might be able to get some help. I think that will be really interesting. Yes, please.
I think for a very long period of time I struggled with anxiety, and I didn't know what it was to begin with. When I was young, like that's my mother. So I used to tell her that I just don't feel right about certain situations. But there was nothing that I could pinpoint to myself, and I was very interested. Like I used to just read random books, but then I started doing courses because I knew I had to help myself. I didn't know of many therapists at that time. And but I just got lost in the studying part of it. I didn't really, cater to what my issue was, and my anxiety it got to a point where I blacked out once. I think I almost flatlined. My body just gave up, and I think that was the day I decided that I have to do something about this, because we went to the hospital and the doctor said it was an anxiety attack, and then I went onto this course. I enrolled myself for therapy. I started going for that, and it was a long process because so many years of accumulation because with anxiety I think I struggled with depression. जो पता ही नहीं था. I didn't know, And then now, of course, after so many years, I'm in a much better place. At least now I know how to handle my anxiety when it comes back. Sometimes, there are certain situations that trigger me, and then now I know how to I can recognize and I'm aware that way, but it was a struggle because nobody would talk about it. Nobody spoke about it. Everybody was like, "Ghabrat ho rahi hai, chhod do." And I was like, "No, it's much more than that." So I think, and then because I then studied a little psychology, I went on to study a little mindset coaching. Now I'm a mindset coach myself because I think the pandemic started me off because a lot of my clients said that now is the time we need. I was a journalist, so I was never practicing psychology, but then I think once the pandemic hit, we were all at home, there was nothing to do, and that's how I started. Now, of course, now I kind of help guide. I mean, I don't diagnose, but I help guide, but I could do that because of my own experience and because I didn't judge, like you said, I didn't judge myself. It's just a part of our human psychology, but then anxiety is not just घबराहट हो रही है, it is just, I think it just blocks every reasonability and anything, I would be in bed for days. I had migraine issues because of it. I think there were months I was just in bed, I couldn't open the curtains, I had to wear glasses inside the house. Then I started figuring out where this is coming from. It was coming from a lot of unresolved emotional issues, which I was like, I'm young, I'll forget it once I'm older, and how we just brush everything under the carpet. So, but my life revolves around mental health. I think that's why I just ran and came from the house because mom said that, you guys are here and I wanted to see. But I think if that is not there, there's no point of anything else further. You first got to, look after your mental space and at least recognize what's happening. And yeah, I think therapy really helped me with that. And then so I also have a coach, I also have a therapist, we also go to our own people to get help, but I think it's been a lifesaver for me to just voice it and listen, this is happening, I think I need help, and I just reached a stage I didn't care what people think about it. Thought about me, I was like, yeah. And then my friend circle, I think it all changed because we all speak about mental health, we all check up on each other. Everybody, it's not just about how's your mood, but there's so many layers to that. So now our conversations are a little more towards how are you doing mentally, how are you feeling emotionally, and so I think it changes once it's just one person in maybe a group that needs to start the conversation, and then it's just like a ripple effect. But to break that taboo that you must be like cuckoo in your head to go to a therapist, I think that's the taboo in India, and that's
a very big taboo.
Yeah, I think
Thank you so much for sharing this.
They say pagal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And I think this is exactly what we are talking about when we are trying to address this here. And I don't think so. I can come across any better example. You have taken us through the journey and you have taken all the points what we are trying to actually get answered through our initiative. And it is the challenge is about stigma. We know that it's not that easy for people to talk about mental health. Doesn't matter even however well educated one can be, they're still scared to talk about what other will think about me if I talk about something like this. The lack of awareness, one doesn't know even a lot of the time that they're going through some kind of mental health problem. And the whole sort of word of mental health, the whole word itself has a level of stigma. No one wants to be identified as that I have a mental health problem. And it's not easy. But I think that's where we want to increase that awareness that it's okay for getting unwell, it's okay to seek for that help. And that is one part through the app, increasing that awareness. The other part is the prevention part, what we want to create. If someone get to have that awareness, they get to identify they may be having some kind of problem, what they can do to prevent it getting worse. And even if something is happening, how one can have an early intervention. And these are the phases what we are trying, so that in some way or form we can create a much better, healthy, well-informed society for a better mental health well-being. And then we see that aggression so much on the streets, on road, we see all kinds of things happening every other day. And then there's a lot around, yes, there are experiences in our life, the way we perceive those experiences, and we tend to develop a level of personality and the way we learn to react in certain situations as a result. And that's where our initiative is.
How long have you been into this?
How long I have been? It's been like 20 years.
Since you started, how many?
The Solh app?
Yeah.
It's been almost 1.5 years. The Solh app.
We started with the concept thinking a year and a half back, but the application actually went live 3 months back.
It's just 3 months back.
So,
more than 3
the response you were getting, like if you were to put it on a percentile,
Yeah.
like the kind of things which you have put across to people, what is the response you're getting on a scale of 1 to 10?
Sure. So let me divide the response in 3 different zones. One zone is whoever I talk to knows of at least 50 people out of 100 in their circle who need some level of mental health support. So in a lot of ways, while there is, and it is interesting, everybody I talk to know 50 people out of 100 in their friend zone, but they are fine. And that's really, that really goes to explaining the stigma that is associated. See, we all think if somebody has depression, either they would be like that mother in a Bollywood movie who is sitting in one corner and doesn't speak and doesn't just looks at the wall, or we think the person would be like that, the side actor in the Bollywood movie who would be tearing his clothes and just running around. That's not what happens. When somebody goes through stress, anxiety, depression, you name it, they are sitting here.
Yeah, smiling probably.
Smiling. They may be, having a drink with you in the evening and then go home and, but commit suicide.
Yes.
And we have all seen that. There is no insight into the human brain, if I could say it that way. Anyway, let me get back to your question. So that's one point. wherever we go, whoever we talk to, there is a huge appreciation that it is a much needed aspect of help that people should get. The second thing that we are getting is there is reasonable acceptance. Okay. We run out programs and we already have more than 20,000 people that have downloaded the application. The usage and all, of course, there is always a lag in such situations. But I think the response that we are seeing is as good as we would have imagined when we began the work. And of course, some of our functionalities are now also getting developed. The third critical factor where we are struggling right now is it's too cold. I had one workshop in the morning today at a school, but the schools have been closed by Delhi government. I had one workshop this Sunday with a senior citizens forum, and it was too cold for them to come out. And multiple other places, and Rashi is aware of some of them, where it's just, we need to go through these.
We have to do very regular.
Yes.
We need to go through these first 3 weeks of January for life to come back to normal. And then, there is a lot more. So, what we have done is we have divided our entire community into 4 groups. Schools. We usually go to schools and we say grade 7 plus. Okay. We don't think, at least in terms of the capabilities that we are enabling, we don't think people under that age would be able to make as much use in the way we are thinking right now. Ideally, they should be able to, but we are not that mature. Later on, we might explore and go down to the age of 8, 9 years old and then start from there. But for right now, we are saying 12, 13 plus is what we want to look at. That's schools, colleges, educational institutes is one of our key targets. The second we do is we go to corporates. Okay, SMBs and large corporates. The third place that we are going to is special interest groups. And for me, special interest groups are places that have high pressure. High pressure because of the work that they are in, and sometimes because of the environment that they are in, or because of the industry that they are in. Which is where I consider beauty and fashion as a special interest group for me. Because that's where, I keep talking about soul wellness, I keep talking about mental wellness arising from one of 4 factors. In today's world, one is called climate. Okay? Environment, sustainability, climate control, The second is contagion. So, infectious diseases, healthcare, and with COVID and all, it has become very big. The third, conflict. Wars, tensions, this, that, and the other. And the fourth, which is where the beauty and fashion industry becomes hugely big, is what we call as conformity. Need for people to conform to certain standards, to conform to certain beliefs, to conform to certain, I don't want to use the word value because that will, totally dilute what I'm trying to say, but conform to something that they see around in others around them. And in the beauty and fashion industry, this conformity becomes a hugely problematic area. And that is where we see people that are part of this industry, they have a lot of bottled up, stress, a lot of bottled up emotions. Probably some of that is what you are also going through. A lot of inability to be able to come out and really be there. So that's how we are kind of looking at. And the fourth group that we target is women. And that for us is hugely critical because in our view, with all the conversations that we have around feminism and women empowerment going on, it has put every woman in a very difficult situation. The conformity portion of need to conform to what people at home would think, or what my family would think, or what my work colleagues would think, or what my peers, or what my superiors, or what. It's a lot more than probably what men go through on a regular basis. And I'm not talking about working women. There is a bigger problem with housewives and women who are home. Because they have to, it was interesting. I had somebody that used to work for me, and her sister got married in a very rich family. And she chose to not have a career. She was in a very rich family. She used to, she was spending her life well. She was living well. She was going from parties to parties, buying expensive things and enjoying her life. And my colleague used to say, what a vain life she has. I said, are you really joking? I mean, she made a choice in life. I'm not saying her life is better than yours. But she made a choice in life. Why don't you respect her for her choice in life? I mean, I can say your life is vain. What the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
You could have also stayed home, party, done all that, but you choose to come to my office, work your ass off 10 hours a day here, get paid piddly little amount, not have enough time to spend that money at the end of the day. What sort of life do you? I said, it's not about what you have versus what she has. She made her choice, you made her choice. But this is where housewives go through a completely different level of stress, a completely different level of need for this conformity than other people would. So that's kind of how we are looking at the entire mental health zone and targeting various set of audiences. So far, the experience that we have had says, everybody needs it. Whoever I talk to, outside of them, everybody else does. So,
Especially the housewives, they have a lot of stress.
yeah,
And I see this woman in all page 3. Half of them, 90% of them are not doing. They're spending just time. They want to utilize that time. Because I know, when I meet them, I chat with them. So what they have to do.
and that's all that. See, people who are extrovert have a different expression of their. Yes, please.
So far we are discussing about only society and all that, but we are coming from the corporate world, and I actually want to know about the practical implementation of mindfulness or like stoic approach. So my question is like, suppose if I'm working upon my mindfulness and I'm reading something as well, and I'm taking it into everyday culture. How to control it, and how to put it in a better way, how to approach other people in a better way by practicing mindfulness. Like, what is the practical implementation? That's what I want to know. And about the obviously about the corporate culture, how can we?
I think corporate culture, so this is one of the areas we want to target as well. And we would like to do a sessions and awareness in the corporate culture. And the reason is, of course, the whole corporate culture is a very strict, sort of systematic way of working, but very target oriented as well. Because, of course, that's the whole sort of aim behind the culture. But to every individual employee, it does lead with a very high level of stress associated with it as a result of. And a lot of the corporate culture, especially the big ones, they have started doing health and well-beings now. This is not a kind of a surprise thing, it happens now regularly. And you're quite right, for one of the basic things is mindfulness for an individual. And it's important to understand what is basically mindfulness. And as a word, it's very simple, but when you have to practice, it does take years of practicing and training to your own self to be able to achieve a level of mindfulness that one wants to achieve. One can say meditation is one form of it, but you can sit for hours, and the whole idea behind meditation is that you get to a state when you have zero thoughts in your mind running, basically, to have that state. But 99.9999%, the moment you sit, you will have all the thoughts coming to you. The moment you have a thought not to have a thought, you will have all the thoughts of the world. So it's not that easy to get to that state, but it's about practicing. And the way mindfulness works is you have to identify your own individual thing which you really enjoy the most doing. And that can be anything for an individual. So for some people it can be playing a sport or reading a book or some kind of painting or yoga, exercise. It can be any way or form, but something where one can, as an individual, you can immerse yourself in that particular moment and you're not thinking about anything else, just doing that one particular thing. It's one simple way of establishing a level of mindfulness for that individual. The way it helps is when you have your mind away from all the different thoughts and all the different distractions, you will have a much better level of peace in your own self. And as a result, when you are dealing with stressful situations, your mind will be much more relaxed to deal with that situation then it's already being preoccupied with a lot of different things going on in the back of mind. And the way one can react in that particular situation will be a lot different to the way one can react in when you have a much more peaceful mind in your own self. And having said, it's very hard to define what is mind to start with. So, but that's what the concept is, and that's a very subjective feeling one get to learn about their own self. So I hope that answers to some extent what you're asking.
Yeah, I want to add.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
See, suppose if I'm mindfulness for me is like minding my own business.
Yeah. Okay.
So suppose if I'm minding my own business, but in corporate culture people do label you. Okay, so that you're only yeah. So you're only related to your stuff. You're only talking about your stuff.
Yeah.
Because, but see, maybe I'm doing something else. I'm doing mindfulness. Okay. So how to approach that situation in which maybe another person is not actually getting you, and you are trying to say something else, but someone is like taking you something else.
Yeah. So I think the way I will answer that is you already have answered for yourself without realizing that answer. So this question, what you're asking, has already got the answer in it. It is some other person. And what is happening here is, it's because of somebody else's behavior. Someone else is doing something, making you feel in certain way. It is not your behavior, it is somebody else's behavior. What is in your control? Can you control the world around you?
No.
What can you control?
Yes.
You got the answer. So it's not about, you have to prepare and learn yourself not to get bothered about the other person, other things around in the world, that how it impacts on you. So you have already got the answer. It's just, that's where the awareness is. And that's where it is about the mindfulness. The more you know about yourself, the more you will realize that these things doesn't bother me anymore. You do what is right for you, you do for your own health, you develop yourself so strong, what anybody else is saying doesn't matter then. So it's not about others, it's about you as an individual.
I just want to add one more thing. I think you answered it perfectly. In corporates, that's an individual answer. In corporates, how things are working now is corporates are starting to become sensitive to it. And as you rightly said, somebody needs to start the conversation. And then everybody else starts becoming mindful of it. Today, as we are sitting here and as we are talking mental wellness, I can tell you for the next few weeks, everybody in this room is going to be a little bit more sensitive, one for themselves and second for others around them. And then probably what needs to happen is people start exploring avenues through which they are consciously aware of mental wellness for themselves and others. Okay, maybe, and I'm not suggesting that's what we do, but maybe a few weeks later we come back. And if right now it is going to be staying with you for 4 weeks, next time we come back it will probably stay with you for 3 months. And then maybe we come back 3 months later and it will probably stay with you for a year. And that is how you start incorporating this concept of mindfulness, this concept of being aware of what you are doing and not bothering with others. This ability to be empathetic to others around you and know that they have their own different ways of working. And I always keep telling people around me, I mean, those who know me know I'm a very weird kind of a person. I work in my own way. And I always tell people, I don't want you to think that I want you to work like me, but please don't come to me and tell me I need to work like you. It will never happen. So, and that awareness, that ability, it inculcates not in a fraction of a minute, not even, in days or months. It could take years of practice for you to get there. But the important thing is you be aware of it for yourself and ensure your surroundings are incorporating bits and pieces of that. And today, in some ways, should start that off for this group of people, and then we will probably go to other organizations, and some of those organizations would be friends that you deal with, or there will be 20 other companies like us who would go to other places, and this trigger. And this trigger is what is going to actually help us all be more aware, not just for ourselves, but actually for everybody around. Yeah, so others, anybody else?
I think the questions are there.
I'm sure that's the most wonderful part about mental wellness. Questions are always there. I can't imagine a single person who would not have a question.
I don't have questions.
I want to say anything because you also contribute in the app.
The only
The app-
are there inbuilt things?
The app is 100% free of cost today, and the app will be 100% free of cost forever. There are,
That's the whole idea behind it.
but let me because it's a business at the end of the day. So let me explain how we are working. Number one, if you take a therapy, okay, or if you take what we call as allied therapy. Allied therapy could be a yoga session, a meditation session, this, that, and the other. If you take services, then the professional that is offering the service will charge you for the service. Okay, we on our side take a minor commission out of that, and that's how we make our money. Second, for corporates, organization, or educational institutes and all, we are offering subscription packages. Okay, the concept of a package is we make the app available to them in an exclusive group as well. We create certain content solutions and certain capabilities that we enable for the corporate. We run, newsletters on a quarterly basis. We do workshops on some regular basis. We provide other capabilities that ensures the corporate is able to be, manage and practice mindfulness of sorts. And that's what we are trying to do. For an individual user, the app today and forever. It's written in my values ecosystem. For an individual user who wants to use journaling, who wants to use support groups, who wants to use mood tracker, who wants to use goal setting, and who wants to basically use the application as support, it's free.
It has to.
It has to be made free.
That's the whole initiative behind
That's
it.
very important because these are the most important things. Like
And-
I said, meditation is the biggest tool, believe it or not. And guided meditation to start with, because everyone who starts, they can't just take it. Oh, you do your breathing, you follow your breath. And yoga, again, excellent. It's really going to help you in your this thing. And of course, we have Tai Chi. Tai Chi is fantastic. It really helps to, also give you that strength, that thing that you need that is there. So these are the three things that really work. And of course, the other thing is, what I find, which I've been talking earlier, is that you have to really just think nobody is bothered about you. Everyone is bothered about their own selves. How do I look? How do I feel? Nobody's bothered about you. So just go ahead and do what you want and love everybody. This is one thing that is there. You have got to really, if you love, people are going to love you back. If you back at you, and I feel there's going to be no such thing as anything else. These are simple things. Just smile every day. Hi, how are you? If you don't say how are you, then nobody's going to answer you. Maybe the person won't answer you the first day because they're going to be shocked. You're saying hi, how are you? But later on, they will say, yeah, I'm fine. Even if you're not there, they'll say hi. They'll remember you. So these are little things you must do, and you must take out time for yourself to make yourself strong before you come into the corporate world, because the corporate world is not an easy world. It is cruel, believe it or not.
It's everywhere. It's not that case.
Yeah, so you have to take out time for yourself. Make yourself strong, that kind of thing inside you. I am the best. Okay.
I got the few lines of one of the poem actually. I remember around the smile. So it goes like, the smile is infectious, it catches like a flu. If someone smiles at me today, I started smiling too.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice actually.
Very nice.
You have to repeat it again.
Yeah.
And if any person who smiles a lot and was told by so many people not to smile, so Real Sandy always tells me, Rashi, tum hasna kam karo. When I was getting married, so my mother took me in the corner. Sorry, I'm taking it again. And she told me, now you're going on a stage. तुम अपने दांत अंदर I still remember. My mother took me in the corner and told me,
So, questions?
Yes, question time.
Or you want to reserve it and come on the app and ask them in an anonymous mode there, you are absolutely more than welcome to do that as
App is a
well.
great thing.
Thank you so
It's
much.
really a
Thank you
very
so much.
nice thing.
Thank you so much.
It will help a lot of people.
That's the idea behind.
Many times. Rashi's like, Rashi.
I think if no questions, I'm happy to conclude the session. Yeah.
So if you guys want to this thing.
Yeah, but feel free to ask anything,
Yeah, you can
anytime, through the app.
definitely, now you
So
can.
we are there.
We also have support groups.
Yes. Around variety of different issues. What we have also done is we have provided capability for people to also formulate their own support group if they think there is something that they don't find appropriate. Of course, with certain nuances, we would want to manage and monitor and moderate some of those. Maybe merge some of them if they are very, I don't want it to become, like Facebook groups, same topic has 100 people. That's not the intention. See, at the end of the day, and a lot of times we struggle with this internally. It's a mental illness application. While I care about, as a business, I care about engagement on it, that's not my objective. I'm very comfortable if people use it for the purpose that they should use it and not use it otherwise. So the concept of support groups is exactly that. You come there, you talk, you can even go and in one of the existing groups, ask for being made a moderator of that group. I mean, we're more than happy. We're actually looking at community to take on what we are doing. At the end of the day, I don't want to control or create any content. At the end of the day, I want to be a platform that provides this journaling capability where people are talking. These support groups that are moderated by some experts and then people are talking. These, counselings and therapies and everything that practitioners are providing, and I'm a platform. These allied therapies, it could be yoga, it could be meditation, it could be reflexology, it could be tai chi, it could be, cooking for someone, it could be dancing for someone, art for someone, music for someone, whatever, different kinds of therapies and all. But again, practitioners are providing and people are taking. I just want to be the platform that enables these conversations around mental wellness. My job is purely to go to different places, raise awareness, get people on, and then they should be able to be self-governed and the system would work as designed.
We put it.
That allied therapy area is going to go live in the month of February. In fact, we are right now in the process of enrolling providers for that. I think aroma therapy is absolutely something that we should look at.
Because it is a wellness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the mind.
Absolutely. And it's aromatherapy for me is more mental wellness versus physical wellness. So it's absolutely something that
Very
belongs there.
much mental. Because first it works on your mind and then
It
it
has
goes
to
and
be
works on
relaxed
your body.
before you can do anything.